Alright, we're here with the Explorer ranked again. We're going to be ranking through here, seeing what we can hit up. This is the current deck build we're going with. I'm trying out Halo Forger and throwing in a few more interactions like that. I'm going with the Invasion of Urgamon here because I want to try and figure out where I'm going. Sideboard wise, it's our standard package, disruption for control and removal. So, hope you've seen the deck here. I'm not going to go through it fully. Let's get into the games. First match here versus Mariniz. Not too great, we're mulligan down, and we get the no lander. We get a 2 lander, but we have to go down. Alright, we get a 5. So, 3 cards have to go back. So, Fabled, 1 Mirror, and a Widespread. I'm just hoping that I can hit something here. Opponent starts with a Mountain, so no turn 1 Thoughtseize is good for us. Alright, appeared to be Izzet Phoenix, so I decided to drop few cards down. More supportive Izzet Phoenix. They just keep dropping cantrips here, so I'm going to drop a Wandering Mind, see what they go for. They go for Make Disappear, which makes me think this might actually be some kind of Izzet control deck. They send Zukin, which now makes me consider it could be a Indomitable Creativity, so I go for a Supreme Verdict to keep the board clear. Den of the Bugbear makes me go back to possibly more consideration there, but I ultimately wanted to tap out here, which they go for here, which is perfect. So we'll get back our Wandering Mind and shock down the Den of the Bugbear. My guess is they needed the token, so we're going to drop a Niv, reload. Good spread of cards here. Opponent passes and then just immediately concedes. So we didn't see much from them, but I'm thinking Indomitable Creativity because I'm pretty sure their movement there was to get a Goblin token. So I bring in some Thoughtseize Disruption, take out the Invasions of Argamon. And ultimately, what I'm trying to consider is, if they are, take out Sacred Fire as well. That's a little experiment I've been trying with this 59th card. I go down some of our effects here, because ultimately, what I'm thinking is, if they're Indomitable Creativity, want Hand Disruption, and we want a way to deal with their tokens. I'm having trouble making the final cut here, so I take out a Niv, because at least Invasion of Ravnica can exile. Ooh, Mulligan City again, I'm afraid. We go down to 5, we get a solid keep. I decide I want to keep the Fort Erasure here on 2 to try and get in, but then I realise I don't have the mana for it because I've tapped incredibly badly. But then I top deck Lucky, so we go for the Fort Erasure. They Make Disappear, so I think they're holding on to their Indomitable. I'm going to play the Widespread here. I was hoping to get another thing out, but they didn't have it. Banishing Verse goes under it. They play a Crackling Drake, so it appears they could be a Drake list. I shock a card in here to see what they go for. I'm hoping that they activate Den of the Bugbear, and then I can use Tyrant Scorn to kill it, but instead they play Fable. So they go to Fable, they hit us for 1 here. I consider for a minute what I want to do. Ultimately I decide I'm still scared of a counterspell, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and bait them out. They do discard some counterspells, which is good for us. On their turn they go for aggro and play the Den of the Bugbear, so we're going to use that Widespread Thievery here to... We're going to use that to kill it, but then I realise I can't cast a second Tyrant Scorn because once again I'm out of practice checking my mana. We Thoughtseize check them to make sure that we can resolve our spell. We see another Crackling Drake here, so we're going to get rid of that, I think, because they can't spell Pierce on Niv. And Niv is a solid blocker here against most of what's in their hand. Reload. Supreme Verdict's a good hit here. We want to get rid of whatever they can here. They consider pop up their Drake. We've got to take out the Reflection here before they start doing Drake loops, because that's going to be insane. They drop another spell in the graveyard. Activate Den of the Bugbear here, but they tap wrong, so they don't have the mana to do it. I trade here with the Drake. We go down to 10. They have a Strangle to kill our Niv. So I decide here Supreme Verdict is probably the best bet, just to make sure that they can't drop anything crazy. And we have interaction to kill, but they top deck another Drake. I consider about bouncing it, but there's no real reason to here. I choose to return Niv to our hand and make them discard a card. Now I'm assuming that they are going to Spell Pierce this to force us to pay the additional 2, which we will. We have 4 mana available, so what I decided to do, I consider about bouncing the card, but then they'll draw a card. I look at my graveyard and their graveyard. Fortunately there's nothing to actually kill it here. But I decide I should just use Halo Forger and go for the Thoughtseize here. Try and take out their hand. Oh, I didn't go for the Thoughtseize, sorry, my mistake. I go for the 2-drop and I take the Tyrant Scorn. Bounce their card, buy us a turn. Ultimately I wanted to tap out again, so here comes the Drake, they draw another card. They play the so we'll redeploy Niv here. Reload! It's a bit awkward, we don't tend to hit anything too good, so we need to fort check them with the fort erasure. We take out their third Drake and we keep the spell here. We hold back our cards. Opponent plays their land. They activate the Storm of the Hall of the Storm Giant, sorry. I look and check that we can't do anything with our mana here. I decide I'm going to kill the Third Path Iconoclast. So here I can trade with the Drake and then chump the... Ultimately I get a bit greedy, I think, yeah. I decided I'm going to take the Drake's damage and go down to 3, which was such a mistake in hindsight. Because I'm thinking to myself, I want to play and flip the Invasion of Ravnica. But like a fool, I forget that that's not a multicolored spell. So they can just activate and kill me here because I, as I said, was really stupid with this. So what I need to do is flip the Invasion of Ravnica, activate Growth Spiral, hope that I draw a land, and I completely whiff and get a tap land, so that's a mistake. I was just too excited and wanted to play the guild. So we know what they're doing here now, so we consider, we bring in the Invasion of Arkham, but I consider it back. I believe this might have been a creativity deck with a Drake sideboard plan. We take out the vetoes because if they're not a big Drake deck, then an Indomitable creativity deck, then we're not going to hit too crazy. This is a great hand for us. We have counter interaction, we have an Invasion of New Phyrexia, things that could be pretty solid for us. Turn 2, we'll drop another land here. They opt, we're going to let that resolve. They go for the Third Path. I choose to counter this to keep their board presence down. On our turn here, we play another tap land and just hold up an Assassin's Trophy. Turn 3, they consider, draw a card. They foretell, so there's a number of things what that could be. So with that done for now, I'm going to just go for the Invasion of New Phyrexia here. Just make 2 knights and just see what their board presence does. It's either a Behold the Multiverse or a Doomscar effect. It's a Behold the Multiverse, sorry, Doomscar's in white of course. They scry 2, draw 2. Drop another land. Foretell another card. We hit a Niv here, so they're tapped out now. Let's shock it in. Pass our Niv Mizzet. Reload some cards. Go to combat. We're going to attack them down here to put them on a clock. And our opponent just concedes, which was a bit anticlimactic for the final match. Alright, so we'll go into the next one. Mulligan here because there wasn't much action. No lands here. Just excited to keep this. We don't know what we're up against, so we're going to keep 2 Wandering Minds to Thoughtseize protect us. Because if our opponent Thoughtseizes us, we can at least use another one. We see an Elvish Mystic, so I'm instantly dreading that this could be Mono Green Devotion. However, they drop a Pathway and play Order of the Midnight. So then we'll just drop a Wandering Mind, try to dig some answers, find a Kolaghan's Command. Our opponent drops another Midnight and plays Gix, Gix. So this is a green-white, low to the ground value creature deck. Very interesting. I move to the next phase here. What I'm ultimately trying to do is just see what they play. They play Sheoldred, which really puts us in danger. So I'm going to return the Wandering Mind, kill the Mystic. They float the mana, don't do anything with it, hit us for free, and they draw a card. We go up to 5 mana here, so I'm going to play Niv Mizzet to reload. We don't find an answer to Sheoldred, so I'm very scared right here now. However, our opponent just slams it into our Niv here, so I will take this trade. We got a Kolaghan's Command to get back the Niv if we need it. We also have the Tyrant Scorn now to kill the Gix. Considering what could be coming now, I'm going to get rid of Gix because I don't want it to activate his ability. Shock in the land here and pass. So we can Vanishing Verse into Growth Spiral. They have another Gix on the field. At the beginning of combat here, I go to return Niv to hand, kill the human, but I made a mistake here because now they can attack with Lovestruck and the Lair of the Hydra, because I completely messed that up. Consider my options here. I decided to dig with a Wandering Mind, find a Whitehead Thievery, which would be great next turn. I decide ultimately, I can't remember now, to put that in tapped and pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Llanowar Elves. Goes to activate the Hydra. Oh no, they have a Questing Beast, which messes us up now because now we have to Vanishing Verse the Questing Beast and then Chumbok the Lovestruck Beast. But they just have a Fatal Push, so we're just dead. Move into game 2, all of the board wipes, all of the Fatal Pushes, remove things that are a bit too slow here, so take our Halo Forger, we're not going to get the big mana, take out the Invasion, and just pass it back like that. We just want to hit board wipe after board wipe after board wipe here against this kind of opponent. We keep it pretty susceptible to Thoughtseize hand here. We're missing blue, so let's pray we get a blue here. We'll just play a shock, Sacred Foundry tapped. They start off with a Mystic. We find our blue mana, which is going to come into play tapped anyway, because we don't have an official green or blue here. They Kite Sail us and take our Whitehead Thievery. I'm going to shock this in and pass. So here's the deal, if they have another effect like that, I can get back the Wandering Mind here. What I'm going to do is wait till our opponent does something. So they drop a Gix. I'm going to Sacred Fire, gain back 2 life, get back the Wandering Mind. Fortunately, we're going to take a hit here. They draw 2 cards. Gix is such a good card in these decks. So we're just going to play the Wandering Mind. We'll put a Tristani under there. We'll play a land. And pass. Our opponent knocks us down to 13, draws 3 cards. Clearly, I think they're looking for a Sheoldred to bounce back. They get a Gix here, a Glisser, and then they duress us, but we only have Niv in hand, so we're going to be fine with that either way. Choose to play Niv Mizzet here. We're going to unfortunately have to trade it with the Glisser to keep our Whitehead Thievery around if we want to do it. Well, it's not even trade, we'd have to give it up. Fortunately, our opponent doesn't seem to have a removal spell here. So after much consideration, they activate Gix, throw away their hand, and exile the top cards of our library. I think they do anyway, I'm pretty sure, yeah. They play the land, they activate Gix, eventually. Yep. So there we go. They discard 4 cards, exile the top 4 of our library. They get the Invasion of Ravnica and the Invasion of New Phyrexia and a Tyrant Scorn. They don't cast Tyrant Scorn, Invasion for 0. And they play the Invasion of Ravnica and they get rid of our Niv, which is a terrible shame for us. Except here they make a huge error in my opinion. They both go after the Invasion of New Phyrexia. And that's great. That's like a draw 2 and drop 1 for them. But they know that I have a board wipe here. So I'm just very confused what their plan is. So ultimately, we're just going to crack our Fabled Passage. Drop our Solar Blaze to wipe their board. Drop our Edgar. After we do a little Growth Spiral here, because we have plenty of mana. We're going to drop an Edgar, who's very resilient to the removal that we've seen them produce here. They check the Teferi and realize that the only thing they can do with it is draw 2, discard 2, and then they just duress and quit. So we run it back, and our opponent just rage quits out of the entire match, which is so strange because they were not at a disadvantage at all. But you know, we take the wins where we can get them. They're good for clearing the dailies. Alright, our final match here in the ranked ladder. And again, we are probably mulliganing because this is terrible. We keep this slow hand for no real benefit. But ultimately, we got to try and just go with the Growth Spiral. But we get the turn 1 Thoughtseize. And Shock Horror, it is our favourite top of the meta Rakdos mid-range deck. And ultimately, yep, they take a Wandering Mind to make us not have any interaction. Then they drop a Kroxa. So I choose to get rid of the Vanishing Verse in case they have some kind of additional discard. In their end step, we're going to drop the Growth Spiral, shock it in there because I'm just messing up here. They go up to 4 mana, go for Shieldred, so we'll Growth Spiral in response. In our upkeep, we're going to Assassin's Trophy it so we don't take any damage. They pick up their mountain, we get another land, so we are fine if our deck can draw us anything. And, well, Shock Horror, our deck does not draw us anything. Our opponent will find 2 of every spell they like in the world here. Yep, so we'll put Yorion into hand here. We'll just grab another land out of our deck and pass. Ultimately, not much to say here. We've seen the Rakdos matchup many times. But yeah, this is basically our one match of the night where our deck decided to just not perform for us. So we have answers here to a lot of what they're doing, but honestly, the fact that they're running Mutavault now makes them so much harder to deal with. There's the Shieldred. They swing in with a Blood Tithe, put us down to 15. In their end step, we're just going to Assassin's Trophy. Shieldred's gone. They have Kroxa if they want to use it. We just draw another land here. Just going to pass because again we're just going to get hit with discard with Kroxa when we play it. Yep, there's Kroxa. I choose to discard Yorion here because, well, Yorion's not going to do anything against this board, and I'm 90% sure those free spells are removal spells. We get lucky with a Supreme Verdict off the top, but I believe that with this discard here with the blood, they're 1 card away. They have a Mirror Breaker, a Wreck and a Bankbuster. So we ultimately just pass here. They activate the Bankbuster, draw a card. They loot with the Fable to put enough cards in the graveyard for the Kroxa reanimation. And this match is just getting away from us here. Sadly, this is, as I said, the one game where we just get cruxed. And I think both times it's purely because Fable is a stupid magic card that should be banned. Yep, there's a second one. Now they have enough to kill us over 2 turns here with Mutavault and Fable, and we just not drawing anything, so we'll just pass it up. Bring in some Thoughtseize for disruption, a bit of Fort Erasures, another Solar Blaze here. We'll take out the Tristani and the Invasion again. And ultimately we just got to decide what to cut here. I take out the Halo Forges because ultimately again we're just going to struggle with thing. Kaito as well maybe, and the Sacred Fire. Run it back like that. Alright, we keep a okay hand here. We can't go down because obviously this is a discard deck that's going to have turn 1 Thoughtseize into turn 2 Crocus into turn 3 Liliana. I don't remember if that is actually what they do, but ultimately it could be. Well, it's not obviously because that happened. Right, turn 2, they hit Reckoner Bankbuster. So we're going to play the Widespread Thievery to start getting some value here. We put a Niv underneath it to try and get some value going. We still need blue mana for any of the spells in our hand here. There's a Lily of the Veil. They uptick Lily, so we got to discard here. We have 3 sources of red and 2 sources of white, so we'll get rid of the Sacred Foundry. We'll put Yorion into hand here because my deck has decided that, you know, we don't run blue mana. They uptick us again. I get rid of the Tyrant Scorn. Controversial opinion, but I think it'd be good. They go for the go blank. Ultimately I have to discard everything but keep Yorion around. Because I just got to get blue mana rolling here because the deck decided to draw bad for us. Also, this is good because it'll force out either removal or force Lily to downtick. And right now the downtick's more valuable because she's very close to ultimating. Yep, there goes our Yorion. Opponent has the yep. Ultimately we get lucky here though because we top deck a 2 mana spell, so we can Niv here to reload and take that last card with our Thoughtseize. Well, Fort Erasure. Reload! We get another action card on top. They had a Stomp there. They can downtick here to kill the Niv, which we're okay with. I mean, it's not perfect. So here they start pumping out 2/2s, so with the Mutavaults, and pump up with the Misery Shadow. Niv's gone because of the removal spell, so we're just going to go for the Invasion of New Phyrexia fully maxed out here. Make 4 Knights to keep everything kosher. They play a Vraska, proliferate and draw a card. But this means there's no mana for activating the Brackeneer Bankbuster. We've got to discard a card, so we'll get rid of Growth Spiral because our deck has decided, you know, we're not allowed to have blue mana, so we're going to have to use Widespread to compensate. Tyrant Scorn takes out the Misery Shadow. We're going to swing all out here and take out the Vraska, I believe, just because of that ability to go off. We'll then play a Wandering Mind, find another action spell off the top. We hit the Invasion of Ravnica and our opponent concedes because they have no cards in hand and we have a solid board presence. And then we come to our final game, game 3. Now, this I believe is just where we get hosed because our opponent goes solid with the Fable of the Mirror Breakers. Basically, we have to mulligan down and we get hit with Fable after Fable and double manlands, and it's not a pretty sight ultimately. But yeah, please enjoy this final gameplay. So this is how we're going with the battles again. The Invasion of New Phyrexia is super impressive to me. I am struggling to invest so much into the Invasion of Ravnica. It might go down to a fringe play here, but honestly I've been really enjoying. Oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, they Thoughtseize us down, they double duress us into Fable, and then Fable again, so we're just dead at that point. So yeah, We've been having a good run with the deck, but we have to say we got losers that come in. Yep. Enjoy the final bits of the gameplay, and we'll be back next week with some more Explorer gameplay.
Reload!